session. So thanks once more to everyone that's joined us today. And we do need confidence to make progress in life, whether it's our professional lives or our domestic, personal, private lives. We need confidence, and often we don't appreciate the effect of events that we may go through as humans on our confidence. So we go through different circumstances and situations whereby we end up just absorbing everything until we either appreciate ourselves, we realize ourselves that this has affected my confidence, or someone tells us, you are not confident. So today's session is about trying to reassure us that whatever we've been through in our lives, whatever we are going to go through in future, do not lose your confidence. Retain that confidence, retain that energy, retain the awesome human being that you are. Keep that confidence, regardless, because your circumstance isn't a definition of who you are as a human being. The last time I delivered this workshop, about 2.5 years ago, we had many people having to mute themselves because they were so distressed. Some people said that it evoked emotions of what they'd actually been through in their past. But the aim of this workshop isn't to distress anybody. It's just to motivate you and encourage you that regardless of your situation today, retain your confidence and keep showing up. I received an email from someone yesterday who's searching for jobs, and their opening statement broke my heart in that they said that they're thinking of giving up. But we can't afford to give up. We definitely can't afford to give up. We need to keep waking up each day and trying and trying and trying again. Knowing that regardless of what we're going through today, regardless of our situation today, we need to retain our confidence. We need to keep that confidence and keep showing up. Now, not that many of us may know this, but I started the Ladder Back Down in January 2020 due to an experience in a workplace in 2013. The experience did impact upon my confidence, I'd say. It definitely did, because even till date, I work in some environments and I'm told you don't have the confidence that your CV suggests you should have from the roles that you've occupied in the past. So even I have to wrestle and fight to retain my confidence. And I'd encourage you to do the same. That is to fight hard to retain your confidence, regardless of that situation today. So we're talking about the confidence to keep showing up. And here are some of the things that we're going to discuss today. We'll be taking a look at a definition of confidence. What is confidence? We'll be taking a look at some of the behaviors or characteristics of a confident human. Then we'll be asking ourselves the question, Can your confidence truly be stolen? Can it be taken away from you? We'll be discussing that. Can your confidence be stolen? Then we'll be taking a look at a low self-esteem. What does having a low self-esteem look like? And what are the causes of people developing a low self-esteem and the behaviors? Then we'll take a look at a high self-esteem. And we'll be asking ourselves the question, can I actually esteem others if I have a low self-esteem myself? If I have a low self-esteem, can I esteem others? Can I invoke confidence in someone else? Or can I inspire someone to have confidence if I lack confidence myself? We'll be discussing that. Then we'll be taking a look at regaining your confidence. How can you regain your confidence if you've lost confidence? If you've developed a low self-esteem due to circumstances around you? And you're not a bad person if you've lost your confidence. So let's just get that clear. If you lack confidence, that doesn't make you a bad person or even a negative person. Because life circumstances can impact on us in a negative way. So the last thing we'll be discussing is a brand new confident you from today. From today, I hope that many of us will actually absorb what we've heard here and that we will move forward with confidence. We will be discussing, as I said, the questions, can your confidence truly be stolen? We'll also be discussing the question, can I actually esteem others if I have a low self-esteem myself? So let's move on. What is confidence? And we can type in the chat window as we're progressing, what is confidence? Confidence is a belief that you personally, you listening to me, each individual here today, and those that may watch this session in the future, it's a belief that you and I can rise above every challenge despite your inherent weaknesses, which we all have. Everybody has inherent weaknesses. As long as you're human, you're born with weaknesses. So I'm saying that confidence, one of the definitions of confidence is a belief that you and I can rise above every challenge despite our inherent weaknesses, despite our limitations and fears. Those limitations may be finances. I don't have the finances to relocate. I don't have the finances to sit professional exams. I don't have the finances to commute into work every day if I were to get a job. That's a limitation. A limitation could be our accents, a perceived limitation now. A belief that you can rise above every challenge and get a good job despite your limitations, including your accent, including your looks, including your weight, including your lack of experience in some instances. A belief that you can continue to apply for jobs despite your lack of experience in a specific title. Now, let me give an example of that before I discuss our fears. A belief you can rise above every challenge, despite your limitations of experience. In 2001, I'd just done some contracts in IT. So I started IT roles around 1999 to 2000. By 2001, I received an invitation. I received a phone call actually to a job as a head of IT somewhere. A lot of the tools that were in use, a lot of the systems in use, like Citrix, for example, I'd just read about those systems. Systems like Novell NetWare, I'd just read about those, but I hadn't actually worked on those before. Received a call, would you like to go for this role? And I'd actually seen an advert of that role previously on JobServe, and I hadn't applied for it. But they'd apparently done the first round of interviews and they hadn't found a suitable candidate. So an agency called me, would you like to go for this? I said, I'm inexperienced. I don't have any head of IT knowledge or skills. I've just been in IT for 2 years. However, I went for the interview, and when I was given the job, I actually burst into tears because I was so scared of how I was going to actually deliver in that role. And the team members that I inherited were inexperienced. They'd had 4 previous head of ITs resign in 16 months. And here I was suddenly being asked to do a job with 2 years experience. But I went for the interviews, got the job, and I made things work. I made things better despite my limitations, despite my fears that I wouldn't be up to the job. Sometimes you may apply for a role where you don't have as much experience as other candidates, but maybe you're the only one that is prepared to accept the salary on offer. So apply. Apply. It doesn't cost you anything to apply for roles, as everything is done via email nowadays. So apply. Despite your limitations, despite your fears, this may not work out. Confidence is believing that despite your fears that something may not work out, as long as you're doing something ethical, apply. As long as you're doing something ethical, go for it. You fear that you may not be able to manage people, which was one of my fears as well. You fear that you may not be able to manage people, still apply. I've never wanted to manage people because up until I was 30, I was an individual who lacked confidence, absolutely lacked confidence, totally lacked confidence. And then I decided that I needed to change my life around. I needed to change my character in the area of confidence. And so I started working on myself, started talking to people a bit more, started becoming less reclusive. Instead of shutting myself away in a room and just reading, I started actually engaging with people. Despite your limitations and your fears, Show up and keep showing up. Keep applying for that role. So confidence, one of the definitions, is a belief that you can rise above every challenge, despite your weaknesses, despite your limitations, and despite your fears. Fears as to whether this will work out or not. Fears as to whether you will pass that exam or not. I once heard someone say, I don't want to actually apply for that degree, because if I actually start that degree, I fear that in 2 years' time, I'll be 50 and won't get a job. And the person they were talking to responded that if you don't apply for that degree and do it, in 2 years' time, you'll still be 50, but less likely to get a job without the degree. So confidence is a belief that you can rise above every challenge despite your weaknesses, limitations, and fears. Confidence is also a belief that you can do absolutely anything you set your heart upon to do. If you decide, I want to do this, then you need the confidence to believe that, yep, I'll do it. I can do it, and I will do it. A belief that you can do anything, absolutely anything you set your heart upon to do. Confidence is also an appreciation for who you are. Do you actually appreciate who you are? Do you appreciate the family you were born into? Do you actually value yourself? Despite maybe not having a job, despite not having gone to university, despite being in a country that needs modernization. Do you appreciate who you are as an individual? Can you vouch for yourself? Can you confidently talk about who you are? If someone were to say, tell me about yourself, could you confidently talk about yourself, about your values, your character, your emotional intelligence? Can you confidently talk about yourself? Or do you start discussions about yourself with, oh, I haven't done that much. I haven't achieved that much. Or I don't have a job. Or I'm jobless, rather than I'm searching for a job. I'm on the job market. Do you appreciate yourself? Do you value yourself? Or do you talk yourself down? What do you say about yourself? What do you tell people about yourself? Do you have the confidence to talk yourself up rather than talk another person down? Thank you, Benedict. You've responded. I like the phrase, I am in between jobs the most, rather than I am jobless. Thank you. What is the meaning of you and I developing or demonstrating high self-esteem, a high self-esteem. Do you have a high self-esteem? Do you value yourself highly? Do you have a sense of purpose? When you wake up each day, do you wake up with a sense of purpose that I'm going to strive to achieve this? Even if you don't achieve what you've set out to do for the day, do you actually strive to achieve something every single day? Do you wake up with a sense of purpose, sense of direction, and working towards it daily? Thank you, Kenny. Do you value your time? I detest, yes, so I've used that word hate, which I rarely use, but I hate people wasting my time. And I therefore hate wasting other people's time. I hate it with a passion, because while some people will say time is money, I prefer to use the phrase time is actually life. If you lose my money, that money could be recovered. But if you waste my time, that time will never be recovered. If you tell me that I have a meeting with you at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., I expect you to start that meeting at 10 a.m. Because if you start the meeting at 10:30, you've wasted half an hour of my life that I could have spent using, or doing rather, something productive. And that half an hour will never be recovered. And that's why we wake up with a sense of purpose, and we strive to achieve that purpose. And even if we miss it, we try again the next day. But not missing things, wasting time due to a lack of even trying, due to a lack of purpose, due to the lack of a sense of purpose. High self-valuation, you have a sense of purpose. You know exactly what you want to achieve. And even if you don't achieve what you want to achieve, it's not due to a lack of effort on your part or on my part. People with a high self-esteem, they have a sense of purpose. For you to have a high self-esteem, you need to like yourself. You need to like yourself, not even like, you need to love yourself. Ignore people that say, oh, that person loves themselves too much. If you don't love yourself, you can't love others. So high self-esteem, you need a level of self-like, and you also need to respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, if you keep putting yourself in situations where people disrespect you, your self-respect will dip. And if we demonstrate behaviors, if you and I demonstrate behaviors that cause people to lose respect for us, that can impact on our self-esteem. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with loving ourselves, loving self, and respecting yourself. Absolutely nothing wrong in thinking of yourself as a queen or a king. Nothing wrong in that. As long as that doesn't turn to arrogance. So we can take pride in ourselves, but not become arrogant to the point where we disrespect others due to that sense of pride in ourselves. So love yourself, respect yourself, but don't be arrogant. Have a sense of pride in everything you do. And having a sense of pride doesn't mean perfection, because nobody is perfect. None of us are perfect, including me. But develop a sense of pride and be contented with the intellectual ability that you have. There's nothing wrong in trying to improve your knowledge. But if you were born with talents for science and all those physical, chemistry, biology, lessons or subjects, don't then begrudge someone else who was born with a talent for languages, let's say. Because that will reduce your self-esteem if you're not satisfied with the talents and giftings that you were born with, rather than that which another person was born with. So all of these contribute towards a high self-esteem. What about self-belief? If you don't believe you can achieve anything, then guess what? It will be hard to achieve anything. And if you believe you can achieve anything, then the world is your oyster. Someone once said that having a high self-esteem or self-belief is contrary to some religious doctrines. And I discussed this with them. Without self-belief, you can't achieve anything. If you don't believe that you will succeed in something, if you don't believe that I'm going to go to university and I'm going to graduate, you can't achieve that. If you don't believe I'm going to keep applying until I get this job of my dreams, you won't achieve that job. So self-belief, as long as it doesn't develop into arrogance, where we're putting others down at the expense of our own progress, self-belief is good. Contentment. Contentment is so important. Contentment. Contentment with our talents and our giftings, as I've said. There's absolutely nothing wrong, absolutely zero wrong in seeking a higher salary, a higher pay grade, seeking a better location to use your talents and your skills. There's nothing wrong in that. However, contentment with one's inborn skills and capabilities is key to having a high self-esteem. Whether I'm a graduate or not, I will be confident. Whether I'm a billionaire or not, I will be confident. When I become a billionaire or millionaire, which is not my dreams or desire, if I have that money, yes, it's great. I'd use it for the ladder back down, but that's not my dream. But what I'm trying to say is that whether I become a billionaire or not, I will still retain my confidence. And when I become a billionaire or millionaire, I won't then become arrogant. High self-esteem, it's valuing yourself, respecting yourself, loving yourself, liking yourself, regardless of your current or your past situation. What are some of the traits of confident humans or confident people? Well, they're lifelong learners. If we insist on relying on the learning that we completed in our secondary school 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and we don't continue to learn on a daily basis, that can sap away at our confidence. Confident people learn new things so that you can engage in a conversation with anybody, whether that's a CEO or a cleaner. Confident people are lifelong learners, able to engage in multiple conversations of different subjects. We don't stop learning, saying, I've graduated now, that is it. Lifelong learners, they have a sense of purpose as well, which I've mentioned previously. They wake up with a sense of purpose every single day. What am I going to do today? They aim to have a productive day every single day, including days when they're simply resting. They purpose to rest. They say, I'm going to take today out to rest. And they do exactly that. So being purposeful doesn't mean that we're busy all the time, engaging in activities. It's just having a sense of direction. This is a direction I want to take my day into. I want to do X, Y, Z today, and they accomplish that. If they don't accomplish it, they wake up and say tomorrow, or they go to bed saying tomorrow is another day. I'll try again. Confident people take risks. Confident people understand that for a business to succeed, for example, the owner of the business needs to take a risk, because that business could fail or succeed. Waking up each day and crossing the road to go to the shops is a risk. Going on the bus, the train, whatever, it's a risk. Life is a risk, and confident people recognize that We need to take risks to succeed. It's a risk sitting an exam. Whether that exam is free or paid, it's a risk, because you could take the risk, you could pass it, you could take the exam, you could pass it or fail it. So confident people recognize that you could apply for a job, you could get the interview, have a brilliant interview, and yet not get the job because there's a better job out there for you. Confident people are risk takers, and confident people are not afraid to fail. I'm not sure how many of us have ever failed an exam before, but I remember in my secondary school, because I was taken to Nigeria to attend secondary school there. And in my secondary school, I used to pass English, the English language and English literature and oral English, I think it was. Those three subjects, I used to get above 80%. And then the 7 other subjects I did, I used to score single figures, 7%, 3%, 5%, never 10%. But I kept going, kept going, kept going, kept going. Appreciating that one day I'd be able to focus on my single subject that I was born with, great knowledge of that subject, which was English. And once I started focusing on English and studied journalism and then mass communications and all of that, I started to thrive. So don't be afraid to fail, because one day you will pass. The only reason you may not pass in future is if you stop trying, if you give up. Now, many of us know KFC, which used to be called Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the story of Colonel Saunders, the person that started KFC. He failed at many things, many different business options before he started KFC. And look at KFC today. It's a global success story. So confident people aren't afraid to fail. And they don't quit. They don't stop trying. Because the day we stop trying, what we're doing is we're admitting that we're never going to succeed. So confident people appreciate that failure is okay as long as you don't give up. Confident people aren't afraid to be questioned. So whether you're a CEO, chief, whatever title, or somebody who works as a cleaner, you're not afraid to be questioned. So don't be afraid if someone asks you a question. If you're a line manager in a job, don't be afraid if someone asks you a question within your team. Don't ask Why should that person ask me a question because I'm a manager or a CEO? How dare they ask me a question? If I'm managing a team, I'll go and fish for questions. And if I don't know the answer, then I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I'm not sure about that answer, but I'll find out the answer for you and get back to you. Confident people are not afraid of questions. Confident people are able to stand up for themselves and for others. As I said, up until I turned the age of 30, I was really, really shy and quiet and scared. And I totally lacked confidence. But then at some point, at the age of 30, I actually went out on my birthday to Chinatown. And then I returned home with a group of friends. And then I returned home and I just burst into tears. Like, how long am I going to continue to be this way? And then after that, when things started happening, I then started using my writing skills to write to places saying, I disagree, I disagree, I disagree. The first time was when my daughter was denied a place in a secondary school. And I just said, nope, I disagree. This is why she should be admitted to this school, because this is what the government guidelines say. And I started standing up for myself. And then for others. And if you're a team leader or a manager or a CEO, one of your primary responsibilities is to remain accountable and to stand up for your team members and your employees. As long as they're not doing something wrong or unethical, then as a leader, you need to have the confidence to stand up not only for yourself, but also for others. For your employees. If you're a confident person, you will also have a can-do attitude. Yes, I can do this. Even if I fail, I can do it. And I'll try again and again. Now, please don't get me wrong. Some people will say that don't quit, keep going. Confident people also have the ability to recognize when to change course. But okay, that maybe this isn't quite the role for me. I don't actually enjoy doing this. I need to change course. So remember, I've talked about persistence, about doing something and trying and trying and trying again. But another characteristic of a confident person is the ability to understand that sometimes you may need to change course. Persistence, great, but also recognizing when it's time to actually change course and apply for different types of jobs, for example. That takes confidence. We're now going to discuss this question. What do we think? True or false? Can someone steal your confidence? Can someone actually steal your confidence? So thanks to everyone who has given us some really good answers as to why they think someone can steal our confidence, or that no one can steal our confidence at all. And I like what I read here. I like what I read as the initial answer here regarding a response from Olu in the chat window, where you said, true, no one can steal my confidence. However, I've had my confidence knocked so many times. It just means that I have to continue to work on myself, identify what I need to work on, and launch out bigger. Now, the first comment there is vital, and that's my opinion, that no one can steal my confidence. No one can take away from you what you were inherently born with or what you've developed. They can't take that away from you, but they can knock it. Circumstances can knock it, but you can refuse to hand over your confidence to someone out there. No one can steal your confidence. The circumstance that they've put you in may knock your confidence, but only you can actually give away your confidence to someone, saying, you know what, I'm not going to try again. I'm not going to try again. Circumstances do impact upon our confidence. Definitely. We're going to talk about different circumstances, or some different circumstances that affect our confidence, that could affect our confidence. However, no human being can steal your confidence unless you actually give it away and say, you know what, I'm not going to try again. I'm never going to try again. I went through a trauma in 2013. And again, in 2021, went through that trauma that was so deep that I thought, you know what, I need to do something about the situation that arose at the time, especially in 2013. And from that situation, the ladder back down was birthed in January 2020. So our traumatic situations, the situations that we face on a daily basis, whereby our confidence is knocked or eroded or reduced, we can use those circumstances to bring forth something good and something new that makes us stronger. But no one can steal your confidence. They can knock your confidence, they can reduce it, but no one can steal your confidence unless you refuse to give your confidence away to them. Yes, many of us have faced awful situations, traumatic situations, but if you can use that situation, draw lessons out of that situation, and turn it around into something good, that means that person that tried to steal your confidence hasn't stolen it. They've just elevated you to the next level. So we can refuse to give away our confidence. I remember in 2013, when I went through this traumatic situation, I remember having a discussion with someone on LinkedIn, or reading a similar story to mine on LinkedIn. the person that this happened to was not based in the UK, is not based in the UK, and wasn't based in the UK at the time. But they told a similar story, and they had actually written a book, which they referred me to go and buy. I bought the book, and in the last page of that book, I read that this person had retired as she had been through too much hurt in that workplace to feel able to try again, to rise again. So in that case, her confidence was lost totally. Whereas for me, I just had no other choice than to keep trying, keep striving. Keep trying, keep striving. So that I can stand here to say today and say that no one can steal your confidence unless you say, there you go, I give up. I give up. I'm not going to try again. But thank you to everyone who's contributed to that discussion. What are the traits of people with low self-esteem? And again, people with low self-esteem, with a low sense of esteem, they're not bad people. So please, let's not say that they are bad or they're weak. Because we've just talked about the fact that life circumstances, people, situations, circumstances may reduce our self-esteem. We'll also talk about other circumstances that may cause us to lose our esteem or to, grow up with a low self-esteem. People with a low self-esteem, they're fearful to try because they're scared of failing. Whereas I've told us earlier about the number of times that I failed in my life. I've failed so many exams when I was young. And so that could reduce one's self-esteem or knock one's self-esteem. But people with a low self-esteem are fearful to keep trying, scared to ask questions or challenge. Scared to ask a question at work. Scared to say, no, I'm not engaging in that. When asked to do something that you're not sure is ethical, scared to ask questions like, okay, could you explain that to me again, please? And if it is ethical, why don't you do it yourself? Due to a low self-esteem, we may be scared to challenge things that we're asked to do because we're fearful of losing the job. If we're confident, we'd be bold and say, no, excuse me, could you explain that to me again? Could you put the instruction in writing so that I'm clear on what you're asking me to do? Confident people ask questions and they're not scared to be questioned as well. If you've got a low self-esteem, we're prepared to tolerate anything and everything, whether that's in the home or in the workplace or in our places of worship. stand up for yourself. Ask questions. If you've got a high self-esteem, and I was smiling earlier when the gentleman mentioned, they made reference to a religious song, actually. I thought they were going to burst out into song, but you do need to be able to know that you are a human being. You are a strong and confident human being. That you bleed red along with the CEO. Your blood is the same red color with that of the blood of the chief executive. Your blood is the same red color as the CEO of Amazon. So if you work in Amazon and you're asked to do something that you're not sure is ethical, you should be able to send an email to the CEO and say, "Dear sir, I've been asked to do this. In 2 organizations, I've had to say, don't tell me to do that, because don't ask me to do that just because I'm a Nigerian. I've had to stand up for myself just because I've got a Nigerian name. And it's only later that I actually realized that it's not because I'm a Nigerian that I've been asked to do those things. It's because these people were unethical. But you should be able to stand up for yourselves. No one here deserves to be abused. You and I are human beings with red blood. So whether it's in a domestic situation or a business, in a workplace, you do not deserve to be abused. You need to be able to engage in an adult conversation with whoever you are talking to, regardless of your job title and theirs. If you're a cleaner, it doesn't mean that you should be subject to abuse or insults from anybody because you bleed red, just like that other person who may have a higher title and higher pay than you. Doesn't make you, the carer or the cleaner, a less valid or valuable human being. Because you're cleaning or you're in a carer job on a temporary basis or even a permanent basis doesn't make you a less valid human being than me or than that other person. If you're in a marriage or relationship where you're earning less than your spouse, or you're in a manual job whilst they're in a professional job, it doesn't make you less of a human being to them or than them. If you're working as a security guard for a company, you should be standing there with pride in the morning and be expected to be treated with respect. You should be able to stand up for yourself and for others as well. You see someone being mistreated just because they're in a lower grade than your grade, or in lower grade, so you're the manager in the team, and you see a lower grade person in your team being mistreated by a peer in the organization or a senior manager, you need to just respectfully approach them and say, is there another way? Might there be another way? I'm not saying we should go in all guns blazing and try and, literally wrestle the person mistreating your team member. No, but have a respectful discussion. Why? Because your team member bleeds red. People with a low self-esteem sometimes tend to daydream or dream perpetually. One day I will become this. One day I'll become this. One day I'll do this, without actually doing anything towards achieving that dream. High self-esteem sometimes comes from accomplishment of our dreams. Even if that dream is to one day visit another country, don't just dream, work hard towards achieving that dream. Let's take a look at some of the causes of low self-esteem. Absorbed words, words that people speak to us, words that we're told when we're young. Some people have been told you'll never accomplish anything. Some people have been told you'll amount to nothing. Some people have been told you're not clever. Some people have been told, I wish you weren't born. Some people have been told you were an accident. I didn't plan to have you. And they've absorbed those words. That's why I've said absorbed words, because we often don't appreciate that when we get older, especially, not when we're young, because when we're young, we don't have a choice. If you're hearing that constantly, then of course that will be absorbed. But as an adult, I used this example this week as well. But I hadn't spoken to anyone. I hadn't said this to someone in a long time, but I had to say it this week, that you and I have the choice of what words we hear from people. If you're in a toxic environment, you've got a choice of saying, sorry, I'm going to the restroom, or I'm going for a walk, when somebody is constantly abusing you or insulting you. If you're not able to say to that person, look, stop saying that to me, then you've got a choice as to what words you absorb. If you see someone ringing you that you know is always abusive towards you, rather than engage, or rather than listen to them rant at you, let the voicemail pick up the phone. As soon as the person leaves a voicemail message, you type in voicemail. If the first word sounds like abuse, delete the message. You don't have to absorb those words. In the workplace, if what everyone is doing is talking about yourself or about other people, put an earphone in and pretend you're in a meeting. And if someone asks you, oh, are you in a meeting? Oh, sorry, I just wasn't interested in the conversation that's going on. So they know to stop discussing negativity around you. But if those words were words that have been spoken to you from your youth, again, we need to now decide, are those words actually true about me? Low self-esteem causes sibling rivalry, including where siblings are compared to one another. So if you're a parent today, please don't compare the children with one another, because each human being, including twins, triplets, are unique. Each human being was created with similar traits in some situations to their parents, but those traits will always have one trait that is different. So I can see where I'm similar to my mom, and I can see where I'm similar to my dad. At the end of the day, we shouldn't compare ourselves to one another, which is what I've referred to as inferiority complex. And we shouldn't compare ourselves to our siblings. We shouldn't compare our children to others. We shouldn't compare ourselves to our colleagues. Academic performance. So we've tried to do an exam and we failed. And we think that is the sum of who we are. I am not my qualifications. So whether I pass or fail an exam, that isn't who I am. And so that doesn't affect my esteem. What affects my esteem is if I've mistreated somebody and then I don't know how to make amends, which is why I go out of my way to not mistreat people. Low self-esteem causes unemployment as well. Whereas as difficult as things are, the fact is that you are not your job. Unemployment can cause low self-esteem. So please, again, don't get me wrong here. It is, of course, we're looking at different things that could cause a low self-esteem. Unemployment could cause low self-esteem. Financial difficulties, yes, it was tough for me between 2013 and 2019 when I was having to do a lot of voluntary jobs to keep my skills, to keep my name out there, to keep my, to just keep in the market, essentially. So a lot of the CIO, CISO roles that I did at the time were unpaid until 2018. So unemployment can affect our esteem. But I've just told you what I did during those periods. I was speaking all over the place, doing exams, and just trying to make sure that I kept my skills up until I got back into work. So don't allow your current circumstance to affect your esteem, because you're still the valid person that you were before you lost your job. You're still the valid person that you've always been before you gained your first degree. You've always been valuable. before you started gaining qualifications. Because you're a human being, you've always been valid because you've got red blood in your veins. So don't let unemployment or your academic performance cause you to view yourself as a lesser person than me or anyone else out there. Yes, I've read that words that are spoken to us by our parents have a major impact on our lives. And I totally agree with that. And that's why I said that once we become older, we need to just decide, you know what? That is what was said about me, but that's not who I am. That is not who I am, regardless of the fact that was said about me. I keep repeating, and quite a few more people have joined us since I initially said this. I keep repeating that I was a poor performer academically for many years. And so, of course, the words that were spoken to me weren't positive words. They were not positive words. And you can view my "This Little Girl Is Me" post on my LinkedIn profile, where I explain, you know, the words that were spoken to me and the fact that I kept failing. I don't hide that. I kept failing those exams. However, because I learned from the age of 30 to talk myself up, that helped me to develop confidence. Low self-esteem courses, toxic workplaces. And I'd say this to you, that not being in work is better than working in a toxic workplace. And that's why when you're in between jobs, so I'll steal that phrase, when you're in between jobs, use that as an opportunity to research workplaces. Go on to glassdoor.com. View what people are saying about the different workplaces that you're applying to. Because a toxic workplace can erode one's confidence. Being in a toxic relationship as well can erode one's confidence. And I'd appeal to all of us here, don't be an aggressive person in a relationship. Don't coerce your partner, whatever gender you are now. So I'm not talking just to men who may be in this workshop today. Whether you're a man or a woman, male or female, whatever the case, don't be an aggressor. Don't introduce toxicity into that relationship. Now, someone's written here, and I won't say their name out on the recording, my performance in repeating the same paper in a professional exam, struggling through it, affects my confidence and self-esteem. Well, I'd say to you, don't let it affect your confidence. Don't let it affect your self-esteem. Because at the end of the day, if you lose your confidence, it doesn't make it more likely that you're going to pass the next exam, that you're going to pass that paper the next time. Retain your confidence and keep trying. Maybe enroll for extra lessons. Seek extra help. Try and find more sources to learn from towards that professional exam. But keep believing that you're going to pass it. I know someone I know this must have been in the 90s, so over 25 years ago, who kept trying to do their medical exam here. And they kept crying each time they failed. Well, they've now been a doctor for over 23 years, let's say from 2000, although I know it was before that they gained that they finally passed that exam, but they've now been a doctor for 23 years plus. And I'm sure that they must have forgotten now the number of times that they took that exam. And you've got to also remember that when you pass that exam, nobody's going to tell you, nobody's going to say to you, nobody's going to ask you when you pass that exam, how many times did you sit that exam? It's just like driving. I remember failing my driving test so many times that I didn't finally sit it until a week before my 40th birthday and pass it. And by that time, I was just so tired, but I kept going, like one day I'll pass this. And once I passed it, no one's ever asked me, how many times did you sit your exam? Remember that each and every one of you here, including me, so I should say each and every one of us here, weren't born walking. Weren't born walking. We had to learn to walk. And I'm absolutely certain that you and I would have fallen down so many times when we were walking, when we were learning to walk. And yet today, nobody asks us, how many times did you fall before you actually learned to walk? No one's asked us ever, what age did you start walking at? So keep going. Domestic violence. Yes, so let me just go back to here. Mind you, relationships in this matter. So we're talking about relationships, workplace relationships between a manager and subordinates. Yes, a toxic workplace. Important. So if you work in a toxic workplace, if I were you, I'd be doing absolutely everything within my power. Learn, 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 and try and find another workplace. I'm not saying everyone should just go and quit their job because you know, I mean, if you know that you can stand it, if you can withstand the storm whilst you study, but keep learning and move on. Don't let any toxicity damage your mental health. Don't let any toxicity in a workplace damage your confidence. And someone says that our background and culture plays a major role in our confidence level. For example, where you mustn't talk when elders are talking, or while having your meal, you can't play. And you know, I mean, that these or while having your meal, these play a major role whilst growing up. Yes, absolutely. Culture, that does play a major role in our confidence levels, especially if our parents have grown up in an era where they weren't able to ask questions or talk or discuss with their elders. But the good thing about that is that you and I now have the opportunity to be different. To be different. So our culture is our culture. Our background, the background that we were raised in, is what it is. However, what you and I have the opportunity to do is to take the good things from the way that we were raised and continue those, and anything that might have needed improvement in the way that you were raised, you just do that with your own family, whilst recognizing that our parents would have made their own mistakes raising us, We won't be carrying those same mistakes on with our children, but we'll definitely be making mistakes ourselves. There is no perfect parent. There is no perfect culture as well. So let's just be aware of that. Background culture, yes, has a major role. Our background, our culture. And we can change that. We've got every opportunity to change it with our own children and our own families. But we will make mistakes just as our parents did. So we just recognize that. Bullying, again, don't be the aggressor. When it comes to workplace bullying, when it comes to partnership bullying or bullying the children, let's just not take part in bullying. In the workplace, if you're in a team and you hear people talking about a member of the team, don't congregate with the bullies. Be that bullied person's friend. Warning, it may affect your job, but be that bullied person's friend. If it's someone in a different role, different department to yours that you see being bullied, or maybe it's a superior, as in a boss, a line manager that is being bullied by other line managers, you may not be able to do that. You may not be able to befriend them, but just ask them if they want a coffee once, just to let them know that you care about them. And don't take part in bullying anyone else. Don't take part in gossiping about anyone else. Because what you're doing is you're reducing that other person's low self-esteem just because you have a self-esteem, low self-esteem rather. People that bully others actually don't have a high self-esteem, regardless of their title. If you're a CEO or a CIO or chief whatever, and you're bullying people, that means that your self-esteem is low. Because people who are confident don't bully others. People who are confident don't bully others. People who are confident about themselves don't feel the need to put someone else down. Or to talk about others. Rejection can play a part in one's self-esteem. Rejection letters from interviews. You open the email, it's also, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, yes, that can play a part in one's self-esteem being reduced. However, we keep going on. We keep sending those letters. Because one day, you can't be out of work forever. So one day, you will get a job. Yes, and someone's reiterated here that one can whistleblow when bullying is identified. Again, if you are going to actually disclose or whistleblow within a company, and I know that that is not the case in all countries represented by people on this workshop today, but if you're going to whistleblow, also be prepared to leave the organization. Because many organizations have this whistleblowing policy, but they really don't take it as seriously as it should be taken. But I agree, Laulu, bullies generally have low self-esteem. That is what I've said here, and I will say that anyway. If you're a bully, then that means that your self-esteem is low, whether that's in the home or in the workplace or anywhere. If you're a bully, then you need to go and work on your self-esteem. Low self-esteem behaviors Self-projection, where you're accusing other people of being what you are. You project your behaviors onto others. Arrogance. An arrogant person is not confident in who they are as an individual. So they tend to boast about what they have or what they are in the workplace, for example. I've got 5 cars. I've got 7 Rolex watches. I don't own a Rolex. I don't own 5 cars. So I'm just using these as examples. I don't even own any gold jewelry. Arrogance. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know that I am this title? Whereas you're not a title. You and anybody you may meet in the workplace, anyone you may meet out there on the streets, you and I, we're just dust, oxygen, and blood. So if someone asks you the question, don't you know who I am? Please don't give that answer, but you can think it in your mind. Yeah, you're just dust and oxygen and blood. Dust, oxygen, and blood. Arrogance, low self-esteem behavior, that is. People with a low self-esteem hate to be challenged. And in many cases, they don't want to challenge anyone just in case anyone finds them out. That they don't know as much as they profess to know. How dare you ask me that? Or don't ask me that question. That is the behavior of someone with a low self-esteem. If you don't know the answer, you should be confident enough to say, you know what, I don't know the answer. Why don't you go and try and ask this person? Or if you don't know the answer, I don't know the answer, but I'll help you find it out. Give me 48 hours or whatever. But low self-esteem behaviors simply hate to, if you hate to challenge or be challenged, then you need to take a look at your, and when I say challenged, I mean questioned. Inflexibility. Low self-esteem, no, I'm not doing that. No reason given, nothing. But again, it comes from hating to be questioned. No, I'm not doing that. End of the story. Because you just don't want to be asked a question, including in the home. Self-pity. Now, throwing a pity party for a long time doesn't serve anybody well. Yes, we've lost a job. We sit there in self-pity. Oh, I'm not going to try again because, I put so much effort into that job, into that application. I can't try again. Or I've been out of work for so long. I'm tired. I can't try again to find a job. Throwing a pity party doesn't serve us well. Giving up, self-pity doesn't help to improve our confidence. Yes, we fall and we rise again. We get a rejection letter, we apply again. We don't dwell in self-pity. Yes, so someone has written here, it's so right. Bullies don't see their behaviors, no self-reflection, and they get a kick from putting others down. Yes, they go to bed on a high thinking, yes, well done. I've put someone else down today. I've put someone else in their place. Not recognizing that that place that we all own, the only place that we really all own on this planet Earth is 6 foot down in the ground. Whether we earn a 6-figure salary or a 7-figure salary, whether we earn what most people would earn in their lifetime in 1 week, we're still blood, dust, and oxygen. And the only real piece of space that we earn, regardless of the number of houses we own, regardless of the number of rooms in our houses that we may own, the only true space we own is 6 foot in the ground. Whether we own a 7-bedroom house, 654-bedroom house, we're going to end up sleeping each night in 1 bedroom. Not only in 1 bedroom, we're only going to end up sleeping on 1 bed. Even if that bedroom is the size of a palace, we'll sleep in 1 bed. On that bed, we'll only sleep in the width of our body times the length of our body times our height. So all these things that we may own, or these titles that we may be filling in our day jobs, is nothing. One could have a job today, the next day the job is gone. So if our esteem is based on our job, we just need to be mindful of that rather than on the character and the person that we are. If our esteem is based on our job or our things rather than our character, then yeah, we've got it all wrong. We've got it all wrong. So if you're not in a job today, yes, work hard to try and get a job. Keep trying. However, focus on who you are as a human being, first and foremost. If you want to boost your confidence, focus on who you are as a human being, because you are valuable, you are valid. For those of us not on the WhatsApp forum for the ladder back down, what's been funny is that, some people have asked me, well, you're saying that we're all valid, we're all valuable, etc., in the group description. What about those fraudsters? And I've said, yes, they are valid because they're human beings, and they are valuable because what's happened now is that they have increased the awareness of everybody in that group of information security and cybersecurity. So they have contributed to the group. So we're all valid, we're all valuable. And you've got to see that about yourself, that regardless of all the words that have been said about you in the past or to you in the past, if those words are true, let's say, for example, someone's saying to you, you bully people. All you need to do is to reflect. Am I actually a bully? Am I actually aggressive, or am I just confident? I've just laughed there because Abby has said that those people trying to defraud us on the WhatsApp group, that there are valuable pen testers. Please, could you make sure, absolutely sure, Abby, that you post that in the group as well, please, in the WhatsApp group. You know, just write a brief thing that thank you to all our people trying to defraud us, that there are valuable pen testers. But that is good. I mean, that you recognize that we can see the value in everybody that we encounter, whether that person has tried to do us harm or that person has tried to do us good. Now, to regain our confidence, we need to let go of that hurt, first of all. If we've been told all our lives that you are not clever, you'll never achieve something, or you'll never achieve anything, rather, let go of the hurt. Please let go of the hurt. I'm appealing to us now. And if anybody's in that situation, if you want to arrange a mentorship call, counseling call through the Ladder Back Down, just go onto the Ladder Back Down's website, ladderbackdown.com, and book a half an hour discussion with me, all right? And we'll talk. But you need to let go of the hurt and set aside that pride that has been hurt, or that pain. If someone's taken your job away from your livelihood, set aside that pride and pain and forgive them and move on. Recognize that that person is weaker than you, which is why they did what they did to you. They're not stronger than you. They may have been in a role where their title is or was higher than yours, but that doesn't mean that they were stronger than you. If they were stronger than you, or more confident, if they had that esteem, if they esteemed themselves, if they respected themselves, they wouldn't have done that to you. So you need to let go of the hurt. All the words that have been spoken to you about yourself, where you've been told you won't achieve anything, you need to view that now as a challenge, that I will. Yes, I can achieve something, and I will achieve something. But please don't carry that baggage along with you for life. Don't carry that pain around with you for life, because if you're carrying pain around with you, that pain is occupying a place in your heart and in your mind that could be used for something else to better yourself. So let it go. Carrying hurt and pain around doesn't serve us well. It doesn't make us better people. It doesn't improve our prospects. Reject rejection. So don't tolerate any gaslighting. If you're truly not aggressive, don't accept anyone labeling you as aggressive. You could be confident without being aggressive. So if you're not aggressive, don't let anyone tell you in the workplace, in the house, anywhere, that you are aggressive if you're simply confident. You can be confident and respectful. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're confident and you're respectful, then don't let anyone gaslight you into believing that you're aggressive rather than confident. Be confident and respectful. There's a place for that. If you're a director or a CEO or whatever, be confident, but be respectful even to those that are working for you. Treat people with respect, remembering that you're equally dust, blood, and oxygen. No more, no less. And that when all is said and done, someone wrote earlier that life is short. I agree with that. That life is so short that when we're young, we're always thinking, oh goodness, that I wish that I could, that I really wish that I could finish these 6 weeks holiday and then go back to school to be with my friends. Then suddenly you hit 30, 40, 50, and life starts hurtling towards, and you're like, oh, gee, that this life is just going so fast that 1 minute you wake up and it's Christmas and everyone's saying Merry Christmas. Next week, Happy New Year. And then it feels as if it's a week later that everyone's saying Happy Christmas again. Life is too short to carry baggage around with us, to not be decent and respectful towards your fellow human being when you know that you're all going to be 6 foot down under at some point. And I always say this because I can't afford to, buy a private burial land. I don't want a situation where I'm really negative to somebody. And then in the future, when they start saying that they're going to be stacking coffins on top of one another because they've run out of land to bury people, then somebody that I've been mean to or been disrespectful ends up being buried on top of me in a grave. So be decent human beings. Once you know that you're a decent human being, you're not aggressive, you're not a bully, then don't accept any label that you're aggressive. Yeah, Islamiad, it's funny, but I always say that all the time. I don't want somebody being buried on top of me that I've been cruel to. And to regain your confidence, remind yourself of previous setbacks and comebacks where you've had all the odds stacked against you and you've come back somehow. Remind yourself of previous tough situations you've been in and you've just had to fight your way through, fight your way up again. Don't just dwell in self-pity and be paralyzed by fear to try and keep trying until you succeed. Thank you, LMB, for this quote. My favorite quote from Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte: life appears to me too short to be spent in nursing animosity or registering wrongs. Yeah, life is too short to be holding on to hurt or pain or rejection. And Ariola has said setbacks and comebacks, life cycle in general. That is quite true. I always say to people that another way of putting this, which I always share with people, is that when you go through your primary school and then secondary school and, education, the education system, what you do is that you start in year 1. You learn lessons. At the end of that lesson, at the end of the year, there's a test. And then you move on to the next year. You learn and then you do a test. But you don't forget the lessons that you learned in year 1. When you're in year 2 and year 3 and year 4 and year 5, year 6, you retain some things. So lessons. Life is a cycle of tests, challenges, lessons learned, and then you move on to the next lesson. And sometimes what you find is that you go through a test and then at some point, someone else you know of is passing through the same test and you're able to help them to navigate through their test because you've learned lessons from yours. So when you're hurt, try and learn lessons from that hurt to use to help others that may go through the same circumstance later. Let go of the hurt, set aside that pride, forgive humans so you can continue. So you can continue to make progress. And when I say forgive, I'm not talking about this in a religious context. You can forget them. You don't need to go and start looking for them to tell them what they did or whatever, unless that's going to be therapeutic for you. But just let go of the hurt. Stop focusing on them. Don't let the end of your life story, if a book were to be written about you, don't let the last chapter be about that person that hurts you. Let the last chapter be about you having risen above that hurt. The last chapter of your book, if a book were to ever be written about your life, should be about how you rose again and again and again. How you stood up and showed up again and again and again. Let that be the last chapter in a book about you. Going to ask a question now. Can I esteem others if I have a low self-esteem myself? So the response, having debated this as to whether we can esteem others if we have a low self-esteem, is it depends. It depends. We can esteem others, according to some, if we have a low self-esteem ourselves, simply because we may lack self-esteem in one area due to one situation, such as not having a job or being in between jobs. But that doesn't mean that we're unable to esteem someone else who's maybe going through a totally different situation, a domestic situation, if we've passed through that ourselves. So it is really dependent. Some of us may esteem others to receive validation in return, according to one answer. So it all really depends. But the point that we're trying to emphasize here is simply, let's all work on our self-esteem above esteeming others, because it is difficult to give what you don't have. So let's all work on our self-esteem and then consider esteeming others. How can we regain our confidence and esteem? Let's seek counseling. Talk to someone. Don't be fearful of seeking counsel or counseling. Don't say, I'm a man, I'm male, I don't need counseling. Don't say, in our culture, we don't seek counseling. Make sure you don't view counseling as a failure of you as a human being. Don't view the need for counseling as a failure on your part. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. It doesn't mean that you have failed. What are the sort of languages that we need to be speaking to ourselves. So I've said self-affirmation language. You can ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I apply for that job? The worst thing that can happen is they can say no, but they could say yes. Stop saying, I can't do that. Start saying, I can. Keep repeating to yourself, I am lesser than no one and equal to all. Again, regardless of your job title, regardless of your employment situation today, regardless of your financial situation today, you are lesser than no one and equal to all as a human being, at least. You may have less money than the CEO of Amazon. You may have less qualifications than some people you know. You may be sleeping in one room, but it doesn't make you a lesser human being than anyone. You're lesser than no one and equal to all. And you need to be repeating that to yourself in the mirror every day. If there's no one there, if there's no one around you to tell you these things, you need to be saying them to yourself. There's a lot of free learning, free certifications, free knowledge out there on the internet. Upgrade your knowledge and your skills and develop emotional intelligence. We're not talking about academic intelligence now. We're talking about emotional intelligence. Upgrade your knowledge. Learn. If you can't read books, go onto the internet. Watch free YouTube videos. Unless you're learning on Facebook or Instagram, if you desire knowledge, go to the learning websites, LinkedIn as well. If there's learning groups, study groups, videos, acquire knowledge and skills and develop your emotional intelligence as well, which is more important than academic intelligence. The way we conduct ourselves, the way we think, our reasoning processes, that is more important than academic intelligence. Once we've developed our emotional intelligence, and I really wish that EI was taught in or from primary school level to at least secondary school level, throughout secondary school, because emotional intelligence, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we reason, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat others is more important than any academic qualifications we may have. So these are some of the steps to regain your confidence. Now, I haven't amended this, but have you written down 3 personal goals? We're clearly in 2023 now, but have you written down 3 personal goals for this year? Did you start the year with goals? And if not, it's not too late. What do you want to achieve this year? And you can start this from today. Write down 3 personal goals for the rest of the year. Identify your objectives. What steps will I be taking? How will I actually achieve those goals? Do I need to change my name? Do I need to shift my location? Do I need to change my friends? Are my friends esteeming me? Are my friends inspiring me? Are my friends telling me, yes, you can do this. Yes, you will get there. Yes, you can do that. What sort of friends am I actually walking around with? Do I need to change my location? Do I need to change my name? And I'll tell you something now. So the top 2 things there, I changed my first name. My first name was Caroline. I was born as a Caroline, and because I was born in London in the same year. And funnily enough, in the same year that I was born, named Caroline Ibukun, and then my surname, I went to a secondary school in Nigeria with a lady whose name was Ibukun, and then her surname. When I returned here years later, and she returned here, I discovered on Facebook that she was also named Caroline Ibukun. But she changed her first name in Nigeria. Maybe her parents must have changed it because she wouldn't have been old enough to change it herself. But in 1993, I just decided, you know what, I woke up one day and I said to myself, okay, on Monday, when I go back into work, I want to be known as Ibukun instead of Caroline, because I want to start living up to my name. And so there I went, did a deed poll, changed my first name to Ibukun, and that's it. What specific steps do you need to take to achieve your goals? Do you need to change your names around? Name change. Changed it to Ibukun, which means blessing, because I wanted to live up to that name. Location shift. In 1996 or something, I decided to take my 3 kids at the time that I had and to move to the US, because I was a secretary and I wasn't getting any traction in my desire to be a journalist. I'd studied journalism, I'd studied mass communications, and couldn't get a job. So I decided to take them. And everyone thought that I was crazy at the time, gave up my flat, gave up everything that I had so I wouldn't come back. Went out there, but it was taking so long for me to get my work visa that I had to come back. And doing that with 3 children as a single parent was tough. But I just reached that decision that, you know what, I want to change my circumstance. I want to achieve my goal, my goals for that year. Made the move. And although I had to come back and had to live with my parents for a while until I could get a flat, but at the end of the day, that move then changed my destiny. Because it was 2 years later that I decided, okay, I need to study, Microsoft exams. And it was through Microsoft that I actually met my husband of today in in 2000, in the year 2000. So what goals will you be taking to achieve? What steps will you be taking to achieve your goals? Name change, location shift. If you need to change your friends, if all your friends do is to sit there and gossip about others, or pull people down, or mourn, or throw pity parties and say, you know what, we're never going to change our situation, we may as well accept our fate. Change your friends. And declutter. What do you need to shed to get you to your to get you to achieve your goals? What do I need to shed to get me there? Do you have a mobile phone that's worth £1,000 that you need to sell to pay for some professional exams? Do you have some gold that you may sell to pay for exams. Declutter, including friends, as someone has just said here in the chat. Change of friends in your inner circle is key to achieving your goals. If your goals don't align with theirs, change them. Declutter. Declutter. Get rid of excess baggage. Otherwise, you'll be slowed down. When you're actually transitioning into a brand new confident you, and you're actually working towards your goals, put in the hard work. Life is hard, but put in the hard work. Measure your progress. Make sure that you're measuring your progress, how you're getting on, how you're progressing. And don't ever, ever compare yourself with others. Don't compare yourself with others. Don't say, oh, but I was born the same time as this person. I was born the same day as this person. I was born in the same month. I went to the same school as this person. Yeah, forget that. Focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. I was speaking to a lady last week who got her first. So we'd done some work together and I hadn't heard from her. So she went for one job. She went for one job and she didn't get the job. We worked on her interview, whatever, and all of this interview process and everything. And she didn't get that job. And so I sent her a message last month saying, please don't be discouraged and everything. And she said, no, I'm not going to be discouraged. Forget that. I'm moving on. And then last week, she then just sent me a message. Oh, I've got a job. So I quickly during this week, actually, it was, and I quickly just rang her, like, what, tell me. And she was slow in picking up her phone and everything. And I was just yelling, sending her messages. And then she eventually told me that she'd got a job in something that she actually wanted to do rather than what she'd applied for before and not gotten the job. And she'd got her first job in this thing at the age of 57. So for her entire working career, she hasn't been working in this industry, audit, and she got a job at the age of 57 for the first time. So don't compare your progress with other people's progress. I know of many people in the UK here, at least, that during COVID just went and just blasted their way through learning, free learning, this learning during lockdown, and they started new jobs in their 50s, new careers now, I mean, not new jobs, not only new jobs, but new careers in IT. So don't compare yourself with others. That person started in their job at the age of 50 something, at the age of 30 or at the age of 20. So that, and I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm whatever. It doesn't matter. Don't compare yourself with others. Keep going. Just be prepared to work hard. And remember, winners do sometimes quit. Don't agree to this saying, winners don't quit, winners don't quit. Winners do sometimes quit. When you recognize that you're not going in the right direction, then quit. Stop, take stock, and replan. If you're traveling to somewhere, so you've planned to travel to Manchester from London, you'll encounter hold-ups, roadblocks and things, diversions, but sometimes you'll encounter a total stop. And you have to decide, you know what? I'm going to turn back and go back home. So winners do sometimes quit. You stop, you take stock. Is this the career that I really want to go into? Quit. start something new. Quit. And don't view yourself as a failure if you have to give up something to do something new. But make sure that you do something new. That's the most important thing. Don't quit and do nothing. Don't stay parked at the service station. That's what I've said here. Take a detour if necessary. Pause to refill. Pause to become re-energized, but don't stay parked at the service station. As you're progressing towards your goal, celebrate any successes, any milestones. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. You can afford to say, well done. You've done well. Look yourself in the mirror. If no one is celebrating you, look yourself in the mirror and say, well done. And whilst you're learning anew, please don't stop developing your character. We can always become better, a better version of ourselves than we were yesterday. So continually develop your character. Don't say, that's just the way I am. If the way you are needs to be improved, then improve yourself. Continually develop your character alongside your education. Because there's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. Never stop learning about yourself, about others, about life, about the academics as well. The day we stop using our brains to learn, that's when our brains start dying a bit. So never stop learning. And continue to strive towards making sure that you're the best version of yourself that ever existed. Not the best version of Ibukun, or the best version of Bola, or the best version of Ellen. Make sure that you are the best version of yourself that ever existed. Make sure that whenever you leave a workplace, people say that was the best person to have ever worked here. I used to work in this place, and this lady that I used to joke and play with a lot, she was from the Caribbean, and she would say, Bukun, you're the second best boss that I ever had. And I'd be like, no, I'm the best. And I try and twist her arm literally to get her to say that I was the best. But we used to joke about that. But at the end of the day, be the best version of yourself that you can be, including when you're leading others. Don't crush people. So continually develop your character. Accept feedback, including negative feedback. As long as the feedback was delivered constructively, accept that feedback. And one thing that I do with feedback is that I always weigh it up. Okay, is this thing really valid about me? Because no one knows you better than yourself unless you're deceiving yourself. If someone were to come to me now and say that I'm aggressive, I would weigh up that feedback. I know I'm not aggressive. Sometimes you don't even need to respond to that other party regarding feedback. Oh, thank you for the feedback. Rather than debate and actually prove them right, sometimes it's best to just listen to the feedback. Then you go and weigh it up. Am I really aggressive, or can some of my actions be perceived as aggressive? Yeah, Doris said, yes, I like constructive criticism. It's important for me to develop because I don't have a 360-degree view of myself. So I need people. And that's why I always invite that. Wherever I work, I invite that constructive criticism. What do you think about me? How do you think I could improve? And if somebody in my team were to say, oh, this is when I used to manage a team, because I don't manage a team now, but if someone in my team would say, oh, no, I can't think of anything, then I start them off. I say, what about this? Because I used to have a habit of going as soon as there was a problem, an IT problem, when I used to manage the 300 sites and, and a large team and all of that, as soon as there was a problem, an outage, I'd be out there with the team. Oh, have we tried this? Have we tried that? Have we tried that? Have we tried? And so when it came to the 360-degree feedback thing, I'd say, okay, what about this? I'm sure that it must really irritate you when as soon as there's a problem, I jump out of my office. And then gradually everybody actually began to say, yeah, that I agree that this does irritate me. And this and this and this. So if people are not forthcoming with their constructive criticism about you, you can also help them to start a list, as long as the list doesn't then become 50 things. And that was a joke, by the way. They can give countless feedback about you, as long as it's positive. Then you take it and you start evaluating yourself. Do I really come across this way? And sometimes people may actually say you're aggressive because of the way, or you and I, that we're aggressive, sometimes because of the way that we actually come across. So it may not be that we're intentionally being aggressive, but maybe because of the way we come across. Because I know that I've seen a lot of people from my background who wave our hands when we speak, for example. And some people of different races may view that as being aggressive. I've also had many people, and not only in the workplace setting, in many settings where they've said, the first time I saw you, I looked at you and I thought, gee, this person, I better not cross them because they look really aggressive. And so I've had to take that feedback on board over the years, and I'll joke with them. I'll say, sorry, it's my dad's face. So, I can't really do anything about that. But I have been doing things about that. Do you know what I've been doing? I've learned to laugh more. I've learned to smile more. So that the me of today is not the me of 27, 28, 30 years ago. Definitely not the same person. I've had to learn to smile more because I know that my face is really hard and it can portray aggression. And so whilst I used to say, oh, there's nothing that I can do about my face, I've had to learn that, okay, that if you want to lead people and you don't want to create fear in them, just smile more, be more open, talk to people more. So important that we don't simply say, that's just the way I am. We accept constructive feedback and we discard the rest. So if someone's saying something about you that is simply not true, you don't need to respond unless they're claiming that you've done something unethical. Because if someone's saying that I'm unethical or something like that, I will, I will respond and I'll make sure that everybody knows that, no, that's not me. But if it's something about character, if they accuse me of lying or stealing or something, for example, yeah, then that's a different category of feedback, and we will fight and we'll sort it out. However, if you simply say, oh, that you shout too much or things like that, I'll take that on board. I'll see if it's true. I'll reflect, rather than simply start debating with you. No, I'm not aggressive. No, it's just the way I am. It's just the way I talk. People from my background, we can appear loud. No. Constructive feedback is an opportunity for reflection. regardless of whether it's coming from a peer, from a child of ours, if we're a parent, or a manager in the workplace, or a subordinate in the workplace. It doesn't matter where the feedback comes from, as long as it's constructive, listen to it. And then develop, improve your character by learning one thing a day. I like the quote that Ellen B posted here earlier. Read up on motivational quotes. Watch motivational videos and emotional intelligence videos as well. Watch those videos, including the one that the ladder back down that I've delivered through the ladder back down. Watch those videos, develop yourself. Don't stand still. Don't say, that's just the way I am. How can we remain confident always? Well, we can stay focused. Let's focus on this life itself. Recognize that it's a journey. Life is a journey. So we stay focused, we stay confident, and we shouldn't be afraid of what's to come. Tomorrow's just an opportunity to stand tall once more. We may fall, but it's an opportunity to stand tall once more. And I'd like each of us to actually remember to have post-it notes around our mirrors, telling ourselves who we are, reminding ourselves of who we are every day. So remind ourselves of the positives, because if there's one person that shouldn't be running you down, it's you. There's more than enough people out there prepared to run you down. You understand? There's more than enough people out there to run you down. So you can't afford to join them. So if you want to boost your confidence, you need to buy a pack of post-it notes and you write everything that you are. I bought post-it notes and I stuck them around an area that I called my office until the boys, my two youngest boys, they just took them down when we were about to redo our house. They just took them all down. And they said, yep, we've heard, you're confident, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, you're intelligent, you're this, you're that. But when we move back into our house, once they finished, I'm going to stick it around my office space again to remind myself of all the things that I am. So you can do that as well, because if there's no one telling you these things, perhaps you live alone. If it's your front door that you need to go out every day through, then you put these post-it notes on your front door, reminding yourself of who you are, ready to face anyone in the workplace that is putting you down. Don't accept negativity about you as a person. Each and every one of us is a work in progress. Each and every one of us is not the negative words that have been spoken to us in the past. We're not stupid. We're not dull. We're not slow. You are not slow. You and I are not slow. We're not dull. You and I, we're not dull. You and I will achieve anything we want to achieve. You and I will make progress. You and I will excel. But please don't absorb everything that has been said that is negative about you, that is causing you pain. Shed it. Shed it. Remove it. Just say, you know what? That was then. And that was that person's perspective of me. But I'm not that person that they said I was then. I'm not dull. I'm not a dunce. I don't lack intelligence. I will get a job. Because everybody in a job today was once out of a job. They were once inexperienced. Everyone with qualifications today, with a degree, with this, with that, they once did not have that. Nobody was born with qualifications. No one was born knowing how to drive. No one was born knowing how to walk. So you need to remain focused. Focus on your goals, focus on your dreams, but most importantly, focus on you as a person. Improving as a person, retaining or wrestling your confidence back from the low place that it currently may be at. Wrestling your confidence back. But you can't afford to continue through life lacking confidence, not recognizing the valuable person, the valid person that you are. You can't afford to do that. You say to yourself in the mirror every day, because everyone, or the majority of us here, might use a mirror. You say to yourself each morning in the mirror as you're brushing your teeth, I am valid, I am valued, and I am valuable. Say that to yourself every day. And then whatever comes during the day, you just keep reminding yourself that I am valid, I am valuable, and I am valued. Even if it's by myself, even if I'm the only person that values myself, I am valid, I am valuable, and I am valued. And stop letting anybody, anywhere, treat you as if they are not just dust, oxygen, and blood, just as you are.